Hey garden friends, today we're going to talk about toxic flowers, poisonous flowers that are very common that most people don't realize that they are or could be a danger. This is not something to be an alarmist about, but knowledge is power. So let's get rolling on some toxic flowers that you may be growing in your garden. A lot of common and beloved garden flowers are poisonous. And I have grown many on this list with no problem. 4 kids, plenty of pets. And we all need to be educated or warned if something could be a hazard, especially if you have children or pets. So I'm going to tell you the ones that I should say relate to you many. These have different levels or degrees of toxicity and danger, and I will try to highlight or let you know which ones are the most dangerous as we go through these. So I'm going to start with the ones that are primarily the most common that you see at nurseries, garden centers, and may or may not have a warning label. I have noticed recently that many of the seed catalogs will list that they are, or parts of the plants are dangerous. So that's great because, like I said, it's nice to know what you're putting out there that could create a hazard, and without being too dramatic about it or say you can't plant these, but you may want to know. Now, one statistic that many people need to know is that kids are 300 times more likely to be poisoned by household items like shampoos, laundry detergents, even dishwashing liquids can be toxic. Now, the number one toxic dishwashing liquid is Dawn, that is on the market, and it is listed as a hazardous material, believe it or not. But a lot of people, and especially, the Dawn Ultra or whatever, and you spray it on and it strips things off. Yes, highly toxic for people or kids, especially if they were to eat it or drink it. Which, of course, that's not what it's meant for. It is not what it is meant for. But neither are ornamental plants meant to be eaten. And with my children, none of them were allowed to eat ornamental plants, and they never did. But that doesn't mean that some kids won't try these. So I thought that was a great statistic to add, just so you know the likelihood of maybe these being a problem for you. So here's some poisonous flowers that I have grown. Foxgloves. Now this one is pretty much well known. Anytime I'll do a video or a blog post about foxgloves, someone will come in there and comment how poisonous they are. Yes, foxgloves are poisonous if eaten, and you would have to eat quite a bit for it to be lethal. But let's see. Foxgloves contain toxic cardiac glycosides. Eating any part of the plant can result in poisoning. Symptoms include nausea, headache, skin irritation, and diarrhea. The toxicity can be severe if enough is eaten. Why do you not usually have to fear them being eaten? Because of the texture, number one. It doesn't feel good in the mouth, and most kids would spat it out immediately. Also, the bitterness. So it's not like they would really eat a lot unless they had no taste buds. But everybody should know that these are possibly poisonous or could be poisonous if eaten. Now, some people have an allergic reaction to actually touching them. Not everybody does. I've pulled them out in hordes, barehanded, not had a problem, but it is probably safer and wiser to use gloves when you're pruning them, pulling them out, or in any way touching them. Or collecting the seeds. So here's one, black-eyed Susans or Rebecca. It's not, they're dangerous maybe to cats and dogs and other household pets if they ate them. Most animals, cats and dogs, are a little bit more savvy, and I've never had mine eat any of them. And you have seen my gardens. I grow them in masses. But But there could be the puppy that likes to chew everything, or boredom. If they're fenced into a small yard and they're in the yard, they may, out of boredom again, chew on these plants. So it's the sap. The sap in it could also be caustic to the skin. So if they ate it, it's a minor toxicity. It's not a common poison for pets or humans, but, and again, the main problem many times is the sap is a skin irritant. All right, delphiniums and larkspur. I have them separated in the blog post. I need to probably go put them together. They are the same family. Delphiniums, let's see, that the seeds and the plants are very poisonous to both humans and animals if ingested, and can lead to severe illness, paralyzation, and even death. Despite their unsavory qualities, delphiniums used to be used to improve asthma. Many toxic plants have a medicinal use, but it's the regulation of the amounts that's difficult. So it's not something you would self-medicate with for sure. So morning glory. Morning glories is another common one. I grow tons of morning glories, but it is not the flowers or the leaves, it's the seeds. If you've grown morning glories, you know they produce a copious amount of seeds, the little black seeds, but pets especially are in danger of eating them. Even small children who would look at this little black thing, maybe think it's something edible, yummy, but it would take large quantities to cause a real lethal issue, or lead to a lot of a severe sickness, I should say. So they contain a chemical similar to LSD, and the symptoms can range from diarrhea to hallucinations. So yeah, morning glories. Surprise, surprise. Another one, sweet peas. These are the flowers, not the edible peas, of course. So the seeds of sweet peas and even the pods that the seeds are in are poisonous. They contain amino acids called lathrogens that, when eaten in large amounts, cause a condition called lathritis. But this typically takes weeks or months of continuous ingestion. But of course, you wouldn't want to eat even a little bit. So lilies. Now, a friend of mine, garden blogger, actually had one of her kitties die from this. All the lily parts, the flowers, fruit, and leaves, are considered poisonous, and the sap inside the leaves and stems can be a skin irritant. But it is the pollen. The pollen on the stamens that is the most deadly to cats. Now, whether it is falling off the plant, if they brush against it and get it on their fur, and then they lick their fur, even the smallest amount of that pollen can cause kidney failure and death. Even if you have them indoors, the water that they are in, of course, some of the pollen could fall in there. So even if they lapped up some of the water, can be very dangerous. Now, if you bring home a bouquet and it has the lilies in it, cut off the stamens that has the little orange powder on it. Now that powder, which is the pollen, it stains terribly, but you can cut that all off and safely throw it away, and you should be okay to go as long as none of that pollen has fallen off on the plant. Most cats don't chew plants, but if you have one that does, you want to maybe avoid or put lilies out of their reach completely, even if you've cut off those stamens. So you might want to avoid lilies. Now, I don't mean out in the garden, because I have cats and I have lilies. But by the time the flowers open, they're 4 feet tall. The cats are on the ground. My lilies are in amongst all my other plants, so the cats don't go in there. And they don't brush against the flowers because the flowers are much taller than they are. Now, there are some border lilies that stay short that you could plant alongside a sidewalk or something, and I think they're like 2 feet. Those you wouldn't want to have if you have a cat, because they could easily brush against it and get the pollen on their fur, or maybe bite a leaf, and it would be a death sentence for them. So that is something to be aware of. Next one, this takes a lot of people by surprise, rhododendrons and azaleas. So serious poisoning is unlikely when small pieces of azalea or rhododendron are swallowed, but consuming larger amounts of any part of the plant, it says, or even honey made from the flowers of these plants can cause life-threatening symptoms. Now, I'm not sure, how do you know whether your honey has been tainted? So maybe if it was in a field that was all azaleas or rhododendrons, you wouldn't have honey made from that. But the bees go everywhere. So that one kind of left me, I wonder. So the toxin can cause extremely low blood pressure and heart rate, as well as irregular heart rhythm. Daffodils. Did you know daffodils were poisonous? It says all parts of the daffodil are toxic. When consumed, it can cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and stomach pain. Eating the bulb, the number one dog poisoning in plants I've read is from them eating the daffodil bulbs in fall. It must be people leave them out when they're getting ready to plant them, or the dogs are out there while they're planting them and they gobble up one of the bulbs. Anyways, so just be warned of that. Dogs seem to want to eat daffodil bulbs. So eating the bulb can cause severe irritation of the mouth and stomach upset. The bulb is what is most poisonous, and that's why gophers and voles avoid eating them. Yes, I can't plant tulips because the gophers eat them all in the ground. But they don't bother my daffodils, so the daffodils wins in my garden. Okay, I gave you the one on larkspur. Wisteria. This is one that also took me by surprise. Wisteria seed pods and seeds are considered the most toxic parts of the plant, but all parts contain the harmful chemicals lectin and wisterin, which can cause a burning sensation in the mouth, abdominal pain, vomiting, and diarrhea if eaten. No deaths have been reported, but it's good to keep in mind that if you do have wisteria, you might want to cut it back before it goes to seeds, or cut off the seed pods. So here's one that many will think surprising. Hellebores, Lenten rose. And this has historically been called the poisonous rose. So roots and leaves are toxic. It affects heart and nervous system. Its toxicity increases if ingested repeatedly. And gloves are recommended when handling or dividing. I guess maybe it's a good rule of thumb to use gloves whenever we're doing any kind of garden work, because you never know what you might be dealing with. So some more that haven't been part of my blog post yet, but I'm going to add them because they do warrant mentioning. Oleanders. Oleanders are very popular in warmer climates. My father-in-law, the front of his property is just a wall of oleanders. My cousin has between her property and the road, a wall of oleanders. She's raised children there. She's had pets there, not had, and had no issues. But it is important to note that it is one of the deadliest plants in the garden. All parts are toxic. Even smoke from burning it can make you sick. Extremely potent heart toxins are in it. Fatalities have occurred from very small amounts. Now, if you have children who maybe like to pick up and try to eat a flower, one flower could kill a child, and it would be very swift. So all parts of the plant are poisonous. So if you have small children you're worried about, or pets that might chew plants, then avoid an oleander. I learned about the oleander first when years ago, probably 20 years ago, I was applying to become daycare. And that was one plant you could not have anywhere around at all if you wanted to qualify for a license. Also, horses have died from nibbling on this. And other farm animals have also died from eating even the smallest amounts of oleander. So datura or moonflower, these have big, beautiful blooms. I grew one year, loved it. But the seeds and flowers are especially dangerous, causes hallucinations, seizures, and organ failure, and is frequently involved in accidental poisonings. But if you're not going to go out and eat these, and you're an adult and you don't have children you're worried about, you can plant these quite safely. Just know that they are toxic. Okay, the castor bean plant. Now, castor bean plant, the only part poisonous is the seed, which contains ricin. And it's one of the most toxic substances found in plants. It's especially risky in gardens with children because the beans do look like a regular bean. I've grown it, has the most beautiful foliage, but if it starts to go to flower, just cut the flowers off and it will not create the beans. The rest of the plant is fine. Mine grew like a tree and I loved it, but I did cut off the flowers as they faded so they didn't turn into beads. A couple I let go to seed because I wanted to collect them to plant the next year. But I didn't have small children at that time. So I think that's all of them. Let me look at my list. Oh, lily of the valley. Its flowers, leaves, berries, and even vase water are toxic. It can cause heart irregularities and is particularly dangerous to pets. So many people don't grow lily of the valley anymore because they claim, or in their area, it can become invasive or such a bully that it becomes problematic. So others that I have listed, hydrangeas, lobelias, lupin, tomatoes, the leaves and the stems, they can be poisonous. Daphne, yew, both Japanese and English yew, pampas grass, and potato plants, the green parts. In my blog post, I put, and though this may seem foolish to say, I must add a disclaimer. Do not eat any part of the above listed plants. Yes, it is more than likely you eating it that is the problem. Usually it is not touching it. Oh, I know there was one more I missed that I do grow in my garden, and I was really glad to find out about it because I used to handle it freely with my bare hands, and that's not wise. And that is monkshood or aconitum. You know, the most toxic part, the entire plant, including the roots. So it has a neurotoxin affecting heart and nerves, and it's even poisonous through skin contact. That's why I said I was really glad to learn about it because I have it. It's a beautiful plant. Gophers don't bother it. And I would constantly handle it. And so learning this, I will now make sure I wear gloves, be very careful not to touch my face or eyes when I have been handling it, even with gloves on. And yeah, like I said, I like knowing these things, even though I'm not overly worried. I am not going to go and yank these plants out of my garden. I have safely grown them for 40 years and not had an issue. But if I was worried about a young child eating any of them, I would probably not grow them. Now, I shouldn't say most, what would I say, my children never had me worried. They didn't bother plants in my garden no matter what. Didn't touch them, didn't eat them. But my cousin who works with autistic children, she runs a class or is in a class with them, told me that there are some that is something they do. They go out and grab anything off a plant and they'll pop it in their mouth to test it. And that could be very dangerous. So if I had a child, special needs child like that, I would be very, very cautious. Now, my foxgloves are out in the middle of a flower bed. You would have to traipse through a lot of roses to get to them, which would be kind of scratchy and hard to do. And other plants like my delphiniums, etc., the same case. They're kind of hard to get to because they're the tall ones and they're at the back of the border. There's safe ways to grow them without having to worry, but we always want to be aware of potential hazards. And that's what this was all about. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. There's many more. You can go online and you can research many, many common plants. And there is some level of toxicity. Okay, you know what? I did forget one, Euphorbia. Euphorbia is also, let me see, did I write that one down? I probably didn't. I'm going to add it to my blog post. I will link the blog post in the description below. But Euphorbia, most people I have run across do not know that the sap is very caustic. And I had a friend, she was helping her mother-in-law to cut back some Euphorbia. It was donkey tail, I think, Euphorbia, and got the sap on her legs and just blistered, something terrible. And if you were to have it on your hands and go touch your eye, like rub in your eye, if that's something in your eye and you're trying to get it out, it could blind you. So any kind of Euphorbia is caustic. There's sap, the white sap that's when you cut them, it oozes from it. Now some cultivars are less caustic than others, but it doesn't matter. They all will burn, sting, and blister your skin or cause eye damage if you were to happen to touch your eye. So I wanted to make sure I listed that one too. So I don't remember how many of these there were. I will go through and list them as I edit, and then you'll know. But I hope you enjoyed this infomercial on plants that it can be toxic and why you really don't have to panic over it, but you want to be informed. All right, I'll see you in my next video.